Hello students, welcome you all for the course of MBA Semester 3 Human Relations and Legal Framework. Today is our lecture number 19 and the topic of our today's discussion is Workmen's Compensation Act 1923 Part 2. So, in this session we are going to see the various other aspects of our Workmen's Compensation Act 1923 that we were discussed it previously. So this is the part 2. So the contents of our today's session are occupational diseases, list of occupational diseases, when employer is not liable for compensation, employer's liability for compensation, and employer's liability when contractor is engaged. Okay, so first of all we are going to see what is occupational disease. That occupational disease has been covered under the act, okay, in part A, part B and part C of schedule 3 of Workmen's Compensation Act 1923. So any kind of chronic ailment, okay, that occurs as a result of work or occupational activity. So any kind of diseases that occur during the course of employment whenever employee has been employed in any factory or any industrial premises, so that will be called as occupational disease. Okay, that can cause to the ill health of that particular employee, due to which, okay, the employee will become weak or ill after some period of time. So there will be different form of occupational diseases that can cause to the individual health of the worker. It is an aspects of occupational safety and health. So there will be various form of measures which can be taken, okay, as a form of occupational safety and health of the worker. So an occupational disease is typically identified when it is shown that it is more prevalent in the given body of the worker than in general population or in other workers population. These occupational diseases will vary as compared to the general population, because these workers are being exposed to the different form of industrial environment. Okay, working in industrial environment is totally different as compared to, okay, working by the general population in some other environment. So naturally that we will see that different population, those are belonging to some other offices and other sophisticated industry, they will not face such kind of occupational diseases problems, okay, which are being related with occupational safety and health. Okay, so in case of there are some sort of diseases or injuries that could be happen to the individual worker, particularly workers those are who are being employed in some industries. So these occupational diseases are covered in schedule 3 of this act in part A, part B and part C. Okay, it shall be deemed to have an occupational disease or injury arising out of or in course of employment. Okay, so any kind of injury or diseases that being arising out of that particular course of employment or in the course of employment, okay, in any particular enterprises or any industrial establishment, okay, the employee would be liable to get the compensation from the employer. So in case of these occupational diseases, okay, certain list of diseases are being there, okay, wherever the worker can ask to get the compensation from the employer. Now when we are talking about these occupational diseases, okay, there are these called as the list of occupational diseases. So this list of occupational diseases has been covered in schedule 3 with section 3. Particularly these kind of occupational diseases or injuries can be arising out of or in the course of employment in any of the industries. Particularly these kind of occupational diseases are classified in three kind of categories. Okay, part A, part B, and part C, as we will see earlier. But what kind of part A kind of occupational diseases has been covered? So there is no specific period of service has been prescribed. Okay, so it has been divided on the basis of length of service required to get the necessary compensation under or for any kind of occupational diseases or inquiries which are covered in this schedule 3. So it is quite necessary that, okay, in case of part A, okay, there is no specific period has been prescribed, the length of service will not be prescribed over here. Whereas in case of part B, minimum 6 months service in the industry has been necessary, for which kind of occupational diseases has been covered over here to get the compensation. Whereas in case of part C, okay, period of service has been specified by the central government or the state government, okay, which has been prescribed under the Workmen's Compensation Act according to the Government of India. So we came to know there are three different types of occupational diseases which has been specified and that are being classified primarily on the basis of length of service required. Okay, this is quite necessary, particularly whenever the workers left the job and particularly they will join the some another industry, and wherever it has been found that the worker is suffering from diseases. So whoever liable being to get the compensation, either the previous employer or the current employer, in that case it has been defined appropriately. The reason behind the condition of service, okay, has been specified. Okay, so current employer shouldn't blame for the occupational diseases caused to any employee by the previous employment. So it is quite depend on, okay, if the worker has been exposed to some hazardous working environment in the earlier employment, suppose, then the previous employment could not be opposed to give the compensation to that particular employee. That employee can ask for compensation to the previous employee also. Particularly for the current employer, okay, the current employer could not face the difficulty, okay, because suppose in case of part A no specific time period has been specified, so he can ask the current employer even also, okay, but in certain cases he can approach to the that previous employer also. There should be certain service time gap, okay, to decide whether the current employer or previous employer is liable for occupational diseases caused to the employee. So whoever exactly has been responsible for the occupational diseases to that particular employee, okay, which has been verified by the verifying officers, okay, or medical officers would be appointed in this act. Diseases which are being specified in part A, B, and C, okay, of this schedule need not to be proved that they are occupational diseases as they are already declared by the schedule. Now in this schedule 3, okay, the part A and B and C covered the different types of occupational diseases, so there would not be any further difficulties to define these occupational diseases further by any of the authorities. In respect of the diseases which are not covered under this schedule, it must be for an employee to prove that, okay, such a disease was not contracted in course of employment. Okay, any other disease, okay, which is not exactly related with the terms of employment, so they need to be proved it, okay, very clearly by the employee itself if he wants to continue the job within the same industry. Now we are talking about the list of occupational diseases. As we came to know that we in the last session we talk about how much the percentage of lost capacity has been lost by that particular employee, okay, due to injury, okay, or accidents or hazards happened in that particular industry. Okay, similarly in case of schedule 3, okay, we were listed out the number of occupational diseases, okay, in terms of employment. So there will be a different form of occupational diseases. Some of the list has been displayed over here that you can look it over here. Infectious or parasitic diseases has been covered, okay, due to some sort of contamination of food or some other particular things that can be occurred, okay, at the laboratory work or veterinary work, okay, or animal carelessness wherever they are. Diseases caused by work in the compressed air, particularly workers those are being exposed in the industry. Okay, there will be some different form of the environment would be there. Okay, and due to which it will cause to them ill health. Diseases caused by lead, okay, or some toxic compounds, okay, which are being also covered in the occupational diseases. Poisoning by nutritious fumes, okay, dust and fumes will be also covered. Poisoning by organophosphorus compounds would be there, that are also covered in this occupational disease. So this is a part A. Okay, this part A will cover some particular form of occupational diseases. Similarly, part B. Okay, part B has a big list over there. Okay, again, in case of this part B, different forms of occupational diseases has been covered. Okay, due to which, okay, the health of the employee can be caused by means of using phosphorus toxic compounds, or mercury, okay, benzene, nitro and amino toxic compounds, okay, along with some chromium, okay, some arsenic material would be there, some radioactive materials would be there. Okay, this will cause to the individual health of the employee. So whenever different forms of toxic materials, say for example carbon dioxide, okay, along with some infrared radiations would be there, manganese or toxic, other kind of toxic compounds, okay, physical or chemical or biological agents, okay, which can be responsible for ill health of that particular employee. Okay, hearing impairment caused by noise. Okay, suppose there is a huge noise, in that case one can lose the hearing capacity even also. Poisoning by dinoprom or homologate by substitute. Okay, some different kind of diseases which can be also covered over here. Diseases caused by bellarium. Okay, these are some chemical compounds over there. Okay, occupational asthma even also. Okay, diseases caused by fluorine. Okay, nitroglycerin, alcohol. Okay, so different kinds of diseases has been covered in this list, part B of the schedule 3. These are again the occupational diseases. Similarly, in case of part C, okay, some different form of diseases, these are called as pneumonitis caused by sclerosis material dust. Okay, there will be some sort of dust, say for example silicosis, or some different spellings has been there. Okay, even silicoturbiculosis, okay, bagosis. These are specifically related with the nasal problem, or some problems which are being related with the respiratory diseases exactly. Acute pulmonary would be there. Okay, that can be also comes under these kind of occupational diseases. So these are the kind of different forms of occupational diseases, some of which are very high risk, some of them are not very much high risk. So this part 1, part 2 and part 3 of the schedule 3 will be called as what? Occupational diseases. Similarly, in schedule 4, okay, and section 4, there has been some particular criteria, okay, and that criteria will be helpful to calculate the compensation according to age of the employee. Okay, these are called as factors for working out the lump sum equivalent of compensation amount in case of permanent disablement and death. So this has been calculated. Okay, the compensation has been calculated on the basis of these factors. Okay, these factors are being defined on the basis of the age. Okay, particularly when we should have to calculate the compensation for the employee, which should be given by the employer. So completed years of age on the last birthday of the employee immediately preceding the date on which the compensation fell due. Okay, particularly when does the employee has completed his last birthday, okay, on which particular year the amount of compensation or factor has been identified. particularly age less than 16 years, those have been not permitted by the law to get the compensation. Okay, and age greater than 65 and more, they will get that much amount of factor of compensation along with percentage loss of that earning capacity. So you will find out whenever the age is minimum, there is a higher factor will be allocated to calculate the amount of compensation, and definitely the amount of compensation for lower ages would be higher as compared to more ages. So you will find out, okay, the all the age factors has been listed from 16 years to up to 65 years and more. Okay, the different factors has been listed out. Okay, these factors will be helpful in calculating the overall compensation based on the based on the percentage loss earning capacity of that particular worker, and that after calculating that compensation, okay, the amount of compensation will be paid to the individual employee. So this will be covered in schedule 4 of the act. These factors are very important, particularly the industry person, those who are involved working with the workers specifically. Say for example, industry relation officer, personnel officer, or personnel manager, HR manager, and as well as the labor welfare officers. Now when the employer is not liable for compensation, okay, according to section 3 subsection 1. Now when does the employer will not be liable to pay the compensation? Now it is the duty of the employer to pay the compensation, particularly during any cause of disablement, okay, permanent or partial or total disablement would be there. But there are some clauses, there are some provisions in which conditions the employer will not pay any amount of compensation to the employee. So there will be some different provisions are there. When the injury does not result in disablement for the period exceeding 3 days, okay, if suppose it has been identified that there is no disablement, permanent or partial or total disablement, okay, within 3 days, okay, then in that case no compensation will be paid by the employer. When the injury is not resulting in death or permanent total disability is due to any of the following results. If there would be not any death or any permanent disability, okay, particularly in case of the employee was at the time of accident under the influence of drink or drug. If the employee has taken any kind of alcoholic beverages or drugs over there, and he is working in the factory, and due to which the death was happened or any permanent disability was happened, the employer will not be liable for paying compensation. Employee willfully disobeyed an order, express given or rules express framed for the purpose of securing safety of the workers. Now there will be some safety instructions are being need to be followed by the workers, particularly whenever they are working in the factories. If the workers are disobeying this instruction, in that case also, if any death or permanent disability happens, there will be no compensation paid by the employer. The employee willfully disregards or removes any safety guards or safety devices, okay, which he knew to have been provided by the safety of the employee. Now there will be this is a very important provision. There are several safety measures has been given to the employees at the workplace, and these safety measures need to be installed, particularly during when the workers are operating any machines or working in the factory premises. If due to which non wearing of these safety guards or safety devices, okay, if suppose the death or permanent disability happen, in that case also the employer will not pay any amount of compensation. Now there is one different provision has been there, okay, suit for the damage in the court barred. This has been covered in section 3(5) of this act. If any of the employee, okay, who has been made a complaint with respect to the employer, okay, or file a civil suit under the civil court, okay, in that case sometimes, okay, the employee will not be liable to get the compensation from the employer. So there will be some different provisions has been made. So according to the Workmen's Compensation Act, the employee is not entitled to get any kind of compensation if he has instituted in a civil court a suit for damage against the employer or any other person. If the employer has registered any complaint, okay, under the civil code, okay, regarding any kind of damages to the employer, okay, he will not get the compensation. Similarly, the employee is prohibited from the instituting a suit for damage in the court of law. Okay, so there will be some different provisions has been there. If he should have to make an appeal to the labor commissioners, okay, or ask for the amount of compensation from appropriate authority. If he has instituted a claim to compensation in respect of the inquiry before the commissioner, so he should have to go for the inquiry before the labor commissioner. Okay, if the employee or employer have entered into any agreement for the payment of compensation in accordance with the provisions of the act, if there is a appropriate contract in between the employee and employee, okay, then and then only the compensation would happen. Otherwise there would not be any kind of compensation that would be paid to the employee by the employer. So these are called as the conditions under which the employer will not be liable to pay any kind of compensation to the employee. So these conditions are being essential over here. Then employer's liability for compensation. Okay, now when does the employer will pay the amount of compensation to the employee? Now we will already discuss that, okay, the compensation will be paid, okay, to the employee, particularly those who are in the employment or of the employment, okay, or those has been happened during some sort of injury or accidents or hazard, those have been um, uh, disabled to perform the work in the factories. So according to section 3, okay, section 3 of the Workmen's Compensation Act 1923, okay, they have made a provision, okay, to whom means the workers will liable to get the compensation from the employer. So it is the employer's liability for paying the compensation in case of accidents, in case of injury happened due to any kind of hazard, as well as due to any occupational diseases, personal injuries, okay, particularly during when, okay, so in case of occupational diseases, okay, in case of any personal injury, okay, or accidents, okay, arising out of employment or in the course of employment, okay, the workers would be liable to get the compensation from the employer. So in these cases, okay, if any kind of occupational diseases happen in the course of employment to that particular employee, he will get a compensation. Okay, any in case of personal injury or accidents happen to that particular employee, okay, they will be also liable to get the compensation. Even any kind of injury, okay, out of employment, okay, or in the course of employment, okay, they will be also liable to get the compensation from the employer. Now when does there is some particular condition, okay, theory of notional extension of the employment. Now there has been a question that if suppose the accident or injury has been happened to that employee, okay, outside the factory premises. Now in case of outside the factory premises, it is need to be proved with the some condition, and that condition is called as theory of notional extension of employment. Whether there is a extension of employment can be in the premises or out of the premises, okay, that is need to be clearly verified, okay, then and then only the compensation will be paid to that particular employee. To make the employer liable, it is necessary that injury caused by an accident must arise in the course of employment. It is quite necessary to get the compensation from the employer, so it is quite necessary the whatever form of accidents or injury that has been happened to the that particular employee, it must be arisen in the course of employment first. If the case is not to be okay like that, okay, it means that the accidents must takes place at the time or place when he was doing his master's job. Okay, if the worker has been performed his job or they were assigned that particular job, employer's job, okay, and that injury can be happen to him, then and then that particular employee would be liable to get the compensation. If the presence of the workman concerned at the particular point was so related to the employment, okay, as to lead to the conclusion that he was acting within the scope of employment, okay, it is quite necessary whether the employee, those who are working outside, okay, or within the premises. Suppose any employee those are working outside the premises, whether they were assigned this job or not to work outside the premises, it is quite need to be proved. Okay, that would be sufficient to deem to be an accident and having occurred in the course of employment. Okay, if the accident happened outside the course of employment, okay, and suppose he has been assigned any particular job to perform that outside duties, then it should be considered that accident has been happened in the course of employment, then he will be liable to get the compensation from the employer. So these conditions are being here, that is called as employer's liability for compensation. Then employer's liability when the contractor is engaged. Now there are the employers, okay, those who are appointing the contractors, okay, and these contractors are getting the work done through the workers, okay, on behalf of the employer. So directly or indirectly the employers workers, okay, workers those who are employed in the factory, they are working under the contractor. So here the contractor will take care of the workers from time to time, but who will be exactly responsible to pay the compensation to the uh, employee? Okay, so according to section 12, okay, of this act, workers compensation act, the act will provide employers liability to pay compensation to a contractor. Okay, if the any of the employees those who are being suffered from any occupational diseases, injury due to accidents or hazard, okay, the employer has to pay the compensation to the contractor. Okay, thereafter the contractor will deliver that compensation or pay that compensation to the individual employee. Okay, sometimes the employer may be engage a contractor instead of employing his own employee for the purpose of doing any work in respect of his trade or business. So many of the employer those who are being appointing this contractor, maybe that contractor will be a contractual contractor. Okay, he must have to made a contract with that particular employer. If the employer has not made a contract or contractor has not made a contract with the employer, in that case the employer will refuse the amount of compensation, okay, to any worker. Such contractor then excused to work with the help of employees and engaged by him. Now on behalf of the employer, the contractor will engage all the employees, okay, and all these employees are working under that particular contractor. If any of the injury caused by an accident to any of the employees, the employer cannot be held liable because they are not employed by him, okay, hence they are not their his own employee. Okay, if any of the worker those who are being working under the contractor, okay, uh, and suppose there is no contractual employment by the contractor, okay, with the employer, okay, and no provision has been made, so no compensation would be paid to the individual employee those who are being suffered due to injury, accidents, or any kind of occupational diseases. But according to section 12(1), okay, here it has having some special conditions, okay, that makes the employer liable to pay the compensation to such employee higher by the contractor under the following circumstances. So there are some given situations over there under section 12(1). Okay, employer will be liable to pay the compensation, okay, who has been hired by the contractor. Okay, the contractor is engaged to do the work which is the part of the trade business of the employer. Okay, In that case it is called as a principal employer. Okay, so employer would be the employer can appoint the contractor. Now contractor will become a principal, okay, wherever that contractor directly appoint the employee. Now the employee will work for the employer. In that case, okay, the employer has to pay the compensation. The employee were engaged in course of or the purpose of his trade or business. Okay, if the employees are being working directly for any kind of purpose for the employer for his trade or business, okay, directly or indirectly, okay, that employee would be also liable to get the compensation. In case of accidents occurred in or about the premises on which the principal employer has undertaken or undertakes to execute the work concerned. Okay, here the principal employer will be a contractor. Whether any kind of accidents occurred or the premises on which the principal employer, if suppose the contractor, okay, has took these employees some other place, okay, and at some other place the main employer work has been going on, in that case also the employer has to pay the compensation to that contractual employee working under the principal employer, means contractor. So these are the employer's liability when the contractor is engaged, okay, according to section 12. So that's all for our today's session. Thank you very much.